So like I surround myself with people that are smarter than me. I hire people that are smarter than me. And, that's allowed me to increase that compounding effect to make it look like I'm doing all this stuff. But really it's the support of an amazing tribe and village. I call them my village every day.
Welcome to the Ken Van Liew Show. Ken Van Liew here, CEO of Global Real Estate Strategies and best-selling author of The Modern Wealth Building Formula. On this show, we talk about anything from raising money to building an extraordinary life, because the Modern Wealth Formula applies to real estate, business, and money. And from that, we create an extraordinary life. So if you have not subscribed to this podcast, please subscribe below and check it out every week, because we have extraordinary guests talking about building modern wealth in your life. Let's go to the show. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with my friend Brent Bowers, and CEO of the Land Sharks, expert investor and coach, has hundreds of students that he coaches buying property all throughout the country. It's so exciting, for me to call him my friend. We're running buddies, and we're going to be connected for a long, long time. So Brent, welcome to the show. I just want you to know you're one of my first and very special guests, and it's just my honor to have you here today.
Heck yeah, I'm just disappointed that I didn't get on 2 weeks ago when your assistant reached out, because I was like, dang, I wanted to be like one of the first couple ones on there, but I'll be fine with the first couple weeks.
You're number 3, so but you're actually number 1 in my book, and the only reason why you weren't number 1 was because I missed my schedule. I'm like a 1-hour paper hanger these days, just running around like crazy, trying to
number 3. Yeah, I'll be number 1.
Well, let me, Brent, I didn't say too much about you, but, my son is an officer, and, and I watched what he went through. And when you told me your story, it really started out that I enlisted in the service, and then I made myself an officer through, like we were talking a little bit about before, not only working hard, but working smarter, right? And you've continued to work smart, where I'll just share, on recent, one of my sessions with my students, you shared your secret formula with buying land and basically collecting the spread on like 65 different properties each month. So, just share with my audience some of those superpowers, brother.
Yeah, I'll get right into it. It started with, running from a problem. There's 2 types of motivations for people, and one is, running away from a problem, and the other one is running towards pleasure. I'm more motivated by running away from a problem. I was in the military, just like your son. God bless him. God bless our service people, our servicemen and women, because I was always away, always deployed, always training, always gone. And my first wife, literally left me on my second deployment and broke communication, and it crushed me. And the Army pulled me out of my second deployment to Afghanistan, sent me to college to be an Army officer. It was a sweet gig. I was paid for almost 21 months as an E5 and as an enlisted military soldier, and went through my divorce and met the woman of my dreams now, my wife now, Emily. And we got married quickly, had a baby quickly, and guess what? History was repeating itself. Not that she was leaving me yet. I was always gone again. My son had basically gotten to about 1.5 years old, and I did the math. I only got to see him 4 months out of 18 months. And I knew that I needed to change something really, really quickly, because I could not stay in the military, because God forbid history repeat itself again. That was my worst nightmare. I was afraid of that happening again. So I put on the boots and went to work and found land investing. I was already kind of messing around with houses and rentals and all that stuff. And I started mailing the tax delinquent list, the list of people that are behind on their property taxes. And I found that list by going to the county treasurer's office and the tax collector's office. And I could break down the steps of everything I did from A to Z if you want, Ken. I just don't want to talk too much. This is your podcast.
No, I love how you dive right in because I now learned from my son who's in the military, and there's nothing like, establishing what your mission is and just executing. So, if you wouldn't mind diving right into the steps, that'd be awesome.
Heck yeah. And I'll tell you, like, everyone's got the same excuses. I had them too. I had a new marriage, a newborn baby, another one on the way. The military was working me half days from about 6 a.m. to about 7 p.m., 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I was really only working half days. So I had a lot of extra time, right? No, I didn't. None of us have time or money when we're starting. So I would get my butt up every morning at 4 a.m. because I didn't have to be to physical training on base until 6 p.m. So from 4 to 6, like Brian Tracy says, I would eat the frog first. And if I had 2 frogs to eat that day, I'd eat the ugliest one first. So I would build my list. I would scrub my list. I would make sure the mail house got my spreadsheet to mail merge, basically who I wanted to mail and what I wanted to say to them. I still don't know how to mail merge. You can look that up on YouTube, but the mail house did it for me. And I'm all about who, not how. I didn't have to learn how to do that stuff. And I knew I was on very limited time and very, very limited amount of money. I was borrowing from Capital One to send my mailers out. And basically the steps were getting the list of people that were behind on their taxes. That was the first list I mailed. And once I had success with that, I started mailing the rest of the county. And it was a simple postcard. The postcard said, "Hey, my name is Brent. I'd like to buy your land at 123 Main Street." Sometimes the land didn't have an address. A lot of land in the United States does not have addresses until you apply for a building permit, as you know, that can very well.
Yeah.
So I would just say land in, El Paso County, Colorado. If you're interested in all fair cash offer, call me or text me. God bless you, Brent. And people would call and they would text. And there was no emotions involved because they didn't care about it.
Quick question. So when you're going out and looking for these properties, aren't you worried about like where you're going to sell a property? I was, thinking about the show today and I'm going, what he makes it sound so easy, and you're going and finding these properties, but, I guess you're going to continue into how you're finding people buying them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So once I had someone say, "Hey, Brent, yeah, the first guy that ever sold me a piece of land, he was not like my average seller of a house that let the property run down for 20 years, never painted it and won $1 million.
Right.
Retired CPA, very intelligent gentleman. He said, I traded this land for tax work years ago. It's not buildable. And here's why. Because there's only one ingress, one egress, and the city will not allow you to build a road over the railroad track. So the fire department won't allow you to build houses. If they ever do, these houses, this land's going to be worth about $150,000 per lot. So I had no clue what it was worth. So I drove to the land, me and my newborn baby, my wife, and one of my Army officer friends, Mike Jessier. And I'm like, this land's amazing. I don't know what it's worth, though. I didn't think to go and check like Zillow or Redfin or any of that stuff and see what the stuff was trading for or selling for. But what I did see was there's this real estate office, like it's as if God planted it there himself, right at the bottom of the hill. And I called her and I was like, "Hey, here's the land. Here's the rough address of where it's located on this street. What is your 30-day blowout price? What's the get it done now price that you can list it for and sell it for? Because I don't want to invest, let me tell you the price, $285 to buy this land. And this is only in 2016. I have not been doing this very long. I'm still practicing. So I said, I'm afraid to buy it until I know what I can sell it for. What do you think the blowout price is?" She said, "Maybe 10 grand. You could sell it in less than 30 days. And I was like, "You're kidding me." So I thanked her for her time. I said, "I'll tell you when I own it." So I was telling my wife what I just heard her say, and she calls me right back and goes, "Hey, Brent, what if I bought it from you?" And I said, "That sounds great." And I was like, "When do you want to buy it? How much?" She said, "Next Wednesday." It's Saturday. She said, "For $5,000. I said, "Send me the contract. Let's do it." So before I got home, she had a $5,000 contract. So in my inbox, I signed it. I called the seller. I said, "Can I pay you Tuesday?" So I paid him Tuesday. He brought me a quit claim deed. I don't get them on quit claim deed anymore. And I do a lot of title research now. I didn't do any title research on this. I just got really lucky. And I brought the quitclaim deed to the title company on Tuesday night after work, and went on Wednesday and picked up my $5,000 check. That's where I found the buyer before I even took ship. And that's what we continue to do. Realtors and Craigslist and signs and Facebook and more realtors and builders and developers like yourself.
Wow. That's amazing. And and when you realize this epiphany, because I was even thinking about it today. So it's like a chicken and an egg almost, where you find this property, and in that case, if I understood you correctly, the guy was honest with you. It's not buildable. And I know you said sometimes you actually buy a property, you get terms on the property, and then you go and you sell it with terms, and you're collecting like a spread in between the property, right? And I guess my question is, so do you buy these things like contingent upon approval, and then you go to your buyers, and if for some reason they say yes, you lock the whole thing up? Or do you kind of lock it up in a risk situation? How does that all go down?
Yeah, no, I buy it with very little contingencies. I get an inspection period that I can cancel for any reason whatsoever within a certain amount of time. I put very little earnest money deposit, sometimes to the tune of $10. Now, granted, some sellers want 40 grand when it's like the buildable stuff for 34 townhomes, like I've talked to you about. Like, that's a different deal. And I didn't start out there though. I started out doing really small deals. But no, I buy it with a long enough inspection period to find my buyer ahead of time.
Got it.
And sometimes, there's such no-brainer deals where it's like, okay, I'm buying this thing for $10,000. They're selling all day long for 35, 40. I'm going to go ahead and buy this one with my own cash or mother-in-law's money at 6%. And then I'm going to sell it for 40,000 at 12%. So that example right there, I'm buying it for 10. I'm going to borrow all the money at 6% interest, only 10 grand at 6% interest. Then I'm going to sell it for 40 grand at 12% interest. The positive arbitrage there is amazing. And you had kind of already mentioned it too, when I have a seller that wants to, get monthly payments. One of my first deals, another one in early 2017, I got 0% financing from the seller, which I call principal only payments.
Right.
And I signed that deal with him. And I went and found a buyer that was willing to pay me a little bit higher down payment so I can make some money up front in the beginning, profit right away. And my payment was $400 a month. My buyer's payment was a little over $650 a month. And I sold it for $159. I bought it for $75. Now that actual buyer has now passed away. On the 30th of this month, I get about $129,000 check.
Wow.
Because his children took over the land. They went through probate and they've sold it already, or it's being sold on the 30th, and I'm being paid off. It went about 5 or 6 years on a 30-year mortgage.
That's amazing. And so when you, and I was, I'm telling you, because I really want to understand your process, and I've heard you talk about it so often. So that's a case where, you were collecting an arbitrage. Unfortunately, the gentleman passed away, so the arbitrage gives you a nice big fat check. But in those cases where you're, say buying something on terms and then doing terms to someone else, and there's an arbitrage you're collecting, what is that end buyer normally trying to do? Or are they a developer? Or are they just buying it as a land bank with one day they think it's going to appreciate? Like, what is really the end user's objective in this scenario?
It really depends on the land. Like, for instance, we had a piece in Colorado Springs. He was a builder developer. We allowed him to build the house on it, and we had a joint venture agreement with him while he was paying us the financing. Now, I own that one outright. I personally own that one. I paid I paid $14,000 for it. He was buying it for me for $35,000. And I actually thought I had it sold for about $60,000, but we ran into a little bit of a roadblock. There was power lines running over the property. So the city would not allow the several people that wanted to build a house on it to basically build the house they wanted. So this smart builder came in. He's like, look, I'll lower it and we'll drive right and a slope in the garage. It's fine. So we did a 1-year term with him where he just paid us payments until he finished the build, and then he paid us off when he was selling the house. So that's one example. Another example, like the stuff that's on the outskirts of the city. This is one day maybe I'm going to build a house. One day maybe I'm going to build a cabin. So they pay us payments until they get a construction loan to build on the property. And then we've got the recreational stuff that there's no plan of ever building anything, maybe a cabin or something. And that money just churns and churns and churns 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And they go out and hunt on it. They fish really close by, or, shoot their guns and ride their four-wheelers and camp. And they send us photos of their weekends sometimes, and they just love it.
Awesome. So I'm going to switch back to where we started, right? Because so you started with solving a problem, right? You didn't want to try to redefine the definition of insanity, right? And expect a different result. And today, you're happily married. You have, awesome children. And I always hear, and I'm always jealous on how extraordinary of a life you're living, right? We just were chatting earlier today. You have, and I want you to tell a little bit more about, because you're very humble since the first day I met you. How, this is the entrepreneurial real estate side, but you also coach people. You're having a mastermind event besides, going to come hang out with me at a mastermind. So you got all these other things, but I think the bottom line is what I've continuously heard since you moved from Colorado, which was probably about a year ago already, on how great life is. So, if you could segue in, because, I know I want to keep hearing about your real estate success, but the results of your real estate success has given you more time for your family, right? And really other options of life. We were talking about writing books and all kinds of stuff. So, talk a little bit about the results of your hard work,
Yeah, I'll tell you, this great book by Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect. I didn't believe it when I read it, but these things really add up. They really start to compound on your own efforts. But where the hack is for that, and he might even talk about it in the book, is hiring and finding and partnering with an amazing team of A players. If you got a B player or a C player, you fire the C players, you bring the B players up to A players. And I'm able to do this because I have such an amazing support system and a team. And I surround myself with people like you, Ken Van Loo, that have already been there for the last 30 years. And okay, this guy's where I want to be. I met you, I saw you on stage speaking, and you were in a suit, probably that suit looked like it cost $25,000, not to mention the rings and the Rolex and all of that. And I heard you mention one thing that I could do very well, and that's run. So it's how do I even relate to this guy? I want to be like him one day. I want to build stuff, and maybe not skyscrapers, because that's just nuts. That's too crazy. But some of it, maybe he'll rub off. I heard him say he runs. So I asked you right after you got done talking. I waited for everyone to stop talking to you. I said, you want to go on a run tomorrow? And you said yes. So I surround myself with people that are smarter than me. I hire people that are smarter than me. And, that's allowed me to increase that compounding effect to make it look like I'm doing all this stuff. But really, it's the support of an amazing tribe and village. I call them my village every day.
Yeah. No, that's something I preach too. If it wasn't for us to surround ourselves with, unique, heroic identities of, the dream teams that we surround ourselves with, it would be impossible to get forward, because I don't know about you, but my biggest enemy is just getting out of my own way most of the time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And we're all fear of failure and fear of rejection.
Yeah.
That's the only two fears we have. I learned that from, Sean Callaghy, which you also mentioned him. I would have never known who the guy was.
Our unblinded friend. So tell us a little bit about, how you took, military experience, started a real estate, formula, they call you the land shark. Now you're now teaching people how to do it. Can you tell us a little bit about the new program you just put together, and how people can work with you and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's called the Land Sharks. I partner with Wholesaling Inc. and Brent Daniels over there with TTP, and the whole emphasis is giving people instruction that they can take action. And when I say people, I mean our students that can take action. And it's daily small wins. Small wins. The small win could be I made 5 phone calls today that made me very uncomfortable. And on the 5th one, I got someone that's looking to sell a piece of land or a house or a skyscraper or a mobile home park, whatever. Now we celebrate and have some lemonade, and tomorrow we're going to call 6 people. It's just specific instruction that will bring you results. And then each week we have a support call that we can, share wins, because for someone to ask a question on our support call, they have to share a win. It doesn't matter. It could be the smallest win. Like my son literally took 1 step today. Is first time has ever taken a step. And because it sets the precedent of, look at all these things that we're blessed and thankful for and, grateful for, and gratitude, because you can't have gratitude and be stressed at the same time. And then we have the support group and the support coach, which I have an assistant coach that helps me, but that's what we built. And we've had multiple people doing 7 figures in the Land Sharks, and I can't even believe it.
Yeah. And is it safe to say that working with you actually, it achieves 2 goals at once, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, the process that you use in buying land, it's similar to just buying real estate. So, you hear about wholesaling, but, Brent, I know you do wholesaling, fixing and flipping, land development. So you've taken one little thing that you learned, you kind of branched it out, created some other streams of revenue. Am I understanding it correctly?
You got it. Like one hand feeds the other. We get house deals from our land mailers and land deals from our house mailers. And it's just amazing how you combine those things and scale and use economy of motion and scale and economy of scale, all those things. And plus, I get bored really easily and I want to keep my team on their toes. So I'm like, hey, this week we're introducing novations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's wow, that's really good. And people can, and you teach a little bit of everything, right? You coach them. Sounds like you're reminding me of Tony Robbins when you're talking a little bit, just, some of the things you say. I love, I just love your motivation, and sometimes you got to get military with people. You got to get disciplined here.
Oh, man. And I'll tell you that one of my favorite things about coaching, but sometimes it scares me to death, is sometimes you just got to get your boot in someone's butt to get them moving. One of those guys, I'll mention him right now, and I hope he hears this, is Travis Young with the Family Mastermind. Like I had to get on him one day on a support call right in front of everybody. It's like, you could just quit right now or you can go back to work. And this guy is doing $30,000 deal, $20,000 deal, $14,000 deal. And I'm so proud of him because I was afraid when I hung up that call. I said, he's going to want a refund. He's going to want to get out of the course. He's going to tell Matt Andrews that I'm a terrible person. But sometimes you just got to go military on him. I'm gonna write that.
I'm so glad because I struck out with Travis, or you had already gotten him. But yeah, I was trying to. I love him and his wife. He had the babies. I'm like, you need to get into real estate. So that was really good news. But yeah, definitely push him. Tell him now Ken Van Liew's pushing him through you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Ken Van Liew wants an update when you see him out there. Like you better be working. So I mean, he's got plenty of reason. He's got two huge wise little babies.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, so you've overcome challenges, happily married, great life, and as we both know, right, fulfillment in life comes from continuing to grow and contributing. So how are you continuing to grow and where are you contributing? What's happening?
So the growth is, I told you right before I got on the call, is I just hired a nutritionist and a workout coach to push me because I've gotten a little stagnant. contribution, I'm getting to do it through my children's school now.
Yeah.
Today we bought this little dog. It's not a real dog. It was like a stuffed animal, but it's called Gracie. And this morning we're scrambling all over our house, and you won't believe it. We didn't even have $25 cash for some reason in the house. You know, yeah. I was like, will they take one of these silver coins? These are worth $25 each. But long story short, there you go, right there. And I have a huge pack of those. They're really cool. Anybody that's not watching this, like Ken's like holding a silver coin in his hand. Actually, I bought coins after I saw you in Tampa the last time because you had a couple, and I just thought those looked neat. But it is a great investment. But I told the sheriff that's selling the little Gracie stuffed animals, like, hey, and it's for a fundraiser. It's for the K9 unit. It's like, hey, if anybody can't afford these, like, send me a text, and I would like to write a check because, like, I saw the struggle we just went through. I can't imagine a family that like just can't afford it, but their child wants one of these stuffed animals. So little things like that, and it honestly that was more for me than even those kids because that made me feel so good to just say, hey, I would like to write a check for that. Yeah. And there's so many amazing organizations out there. You can contribute time, you can contribute money, all these things.
One of the things, now that we're going off on a little tangent, but this stuff's important. Growing up with my family, we used to do a thing called the Basket Brigade through Tony Robbins, and every Thanksgiving we would feed families for Thanksgiving, and we would put Thanksgiving meals together, full turkey, stuffing in a box, and vegetables. They'd all be packaged, and each one of us would deliver probably 20 meals. But I would bring the kids to pack it up, and the day that we would drop it off, I mean, sometimes people would just open their door crack, and you'd be going, hey, your name was on the list. I just wanted to give you this Thanksgiving meal, and I really hope you have a really great day. And I'm telling you, the just the impact that it had on myself, like contributing and doing like some homeless things and giving stuff away, clothes in New York to people that were freezing on the street. And my kids watching this, it just had such an extraordinary impact on them. But I just share that because what you're doing, you could get double the impact when you're contributing and how you feel, drag your kids along. And I'm telling you, it's just unbelievable.
And if we can get our students doing it as well.
Yeah, there you go.
That's one thing that I've learned is like, if we can, we got the impact of educating our children and they're going to educate their children, but if we can do it with our students as well, hey, on the first deal, I want you to give 10% away, whether it be your church or, homeless people on the streets of New York, freezing, like whatever it is, imagine the ripple effect.
Yeah, it really is. But, it's getting a little bit late here. I don't want to take too much of your time. I just, I don't want to leave you before you tell us, exactly how we can get in touch with you. I appreciate you sharing, where you're headed and where you're growing. And I know we're always connecting periodically. So, we have a lot of exciting things going on too. But, just tell people the easiest way to get in touch with you. And, we're going to be broadcasting this out and getting it out there, and real excited, just about the future for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram, Brent L. Bowers is my Instagram handle. Check me out on YouTube, Brent Bowers. I've been putting a lot of time and energy in that, as you know. Yeah, that's a couple places right there.
Sounds great, Brent. Hey, buddy, I just want to thank you again for your time today. Always wishing you and your family the best. And we will see you, I think, in a week and a half in Tampa.
See you soon.
All right, brother. Make it a great day. My special guest, I want to thank you for listening today. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please take a moment. Subscribe to the Ken Van Liew Show. Put modern wealth in your life. Come next week. Keep coming. It's going to make a huge difference. I really want to thank you for listening. As always, make it a great day.